Only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mark Raymakers here with Insurance Agency Marketing Services. I want to thank you for joining us here this morning on our National Guardian Life Trust webinar. We have our co-host John Enting here, who is actually a top advisor, top producer in the field. So he's taken time out of his busy schedule today to help us to get a better understanding of this great product we're continuing to have tremendous success with. So thank you, John, for helping us out with this here this morning.
Thank you, Mark. Good to be here.
Absolutely. So here's what we're doing, folks. We're going to record this. So once it's over with, we'll shoot it out to you. You can review it again on your time to get a real good feel for maybe some things in there that you may have missed. So the question box is open as well. I would encourage you to type any questions in that you may have, and we'll address those as we go. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to have a few polls as we go here this morning. So the sooner we get through the polls, the sooner we can move on. But obviously, it's going to help us in a number of different ways to better serve you. And obviously, really, at the end of the day, it comes down to how we can help you. So if you would, please make note of those polls. We'll get through those as quickly as possible. Okay, one thing real quick. My first poll, this is on our Life and Annuity Training Academy. And what we do, obviously, you'll notice that we are real big on training, because if you look at our webinar schedule, it's full of great information for you. And so right now, this particular poll, we've got 3 events scheduled this year. Our first one here is coming up is May 17th through the 19th. And by marking yes, this just tells me if you're interested in either knowing more or potentially attending. What we'll do is we'll email you an application and an agenda for the upcoming event. And so the first one, again, this is going to be May 17th through the 19th in Des Moines. We bring speakers in from across the country. John, who's co-hosting this morning, will be one of the attendees. He'll be presenting this product. He'll be there for, obviously to answer any questions. But the whole idea behind this training event is to help you to increase your annuity sales, help you to increase your life sales, or maybe even to help you introduce different products. Maybe all you sell is annuities, but find the value in offering life insurance products to your senior clients, or any of your clients, of course. And so it's just all around a great opportunity for you to grow your business and picking up different sales ideas, marketing ideas. There's some breakout sessions where you get a chance to listen to what other top advisors are doing to grow their business. And so with that said, we pay for your airfare, we pay for your meals, we pay for your lodging. Really, there's no expense to you other than your time out of the office. We fly you in on a Wednesday. We'll do a Wednesday dinner, shoot a few short presentations on Wednesday, a full day of training on Thursday, then a half day of training on Friday, and then we'll get you on a plane to get you home. So this is just a great opportunity for you to pick up some free training to help you to grow your business, and we pay for all of that. So if you are interested in potentially attending, or if you have any, maybe time in the next, obviously in May, we're looking at doing another one in September, another one in November. So if there's a better time, was what I'm trying to say, maybe down the road here later in the year, if you mark yes, at least what it does, it gets you on our list of agents that we can bring you up to speed as far as further dates. And so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. I'm surprised we only have 50% of you have made any mention of this or voted at all. So obviously, if you're not getting any training, I think it's unfortunate for you, because there's a lot of great things that are going on in the industry, especially with the Department of Labor ruling. We all heard, obviously, that's kicked down the road a little bit. But this is an opportunity for you to learn some new great things that are happening in the industry that will help you grow your business. So, okay, here we go. Now we're starting to get some response, John. Sorry to delay this. But this is a great opportunity. Every agent that's attended this have mentioned that this has been a great thing for them. It's certainly helped them to grow their business with some of the tools that we discuss in this academy. And some of it's going to be related to seminars. Maybe you're interested in doing seminars. This is a great way for you to pick up some ideas on that as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll out. If you decide that you want to know more, maybe you're interested in attending an event in the future or getting upcoming dates, you can call anyone in marketing and they can provide you that information. Okay, let's move on. So new producer bonus. Here's what we do here. So if you're brand new to us, what we'll do is we reward you with different bonus levels. And so you get contracted with us, and for today's purposes, we're going to talk dollar for dollar on the trust sales. This also applies dollar to dollar for annuities, and then it's a fraction of that for traditional life sales. So everything you do will help you to qualify for these levels. But for today's purposes, let's say you write $100,000 in trust business. What'll happen is you have a choice between three different things here. One is a $750 cash bonus, of course, in addition to your commission, or to your subscription to the website newsletter service. Now, we can help you set that up in one day if you opt not to earn it, but you want to just buy into it. You can call and ask for Josh. He can set you up there, or you can choose the iPad. The next level, 300,000 level, you might save all your points till you get to there, where you can choose a full Social Security program and 3,000 piece postcard mailing. This is a great way to get in front of more senior buyers. You'd obviously have to spend a little time learning about Social Security, and then obviously sitting down with prospects that attend to do a complete portfolio review. So that's a great program there. That can be bought as well. And then there's a $2,000 matching marketing money. If you don't choose the first one, you can take advantage of that, or the $1,500 gift card. Now, some of you might decide to wait to get to the 500,000 level. This is where you learn how to do seminar selling. And the first option is 5,000 piece mailing and seminar coaching with Matt Gill. Matt does a tremendous amount of business with us, and it does a phenomenal job in his seminar program. So you might want to consider that. Or there's the 4,000 piece mailing seminar coaching with Dave Pimper. Both of these gentlemen are top producers with us, and they qualify for pretty much every trip out there, which is nice, but they've got some great experience. They do a tremendous number of seminars a year, and they can certainly help you to grow your business if you wanted to take that avenue. The last is the Ritz-Carlton Travel Rewards. You can make your own personal getaway. We are big on trips. Every year we've got a trip for you to qualify for, and we have our 2018 Top Producers Escape. We've been doing this for quite a few years now, and this one is going to be in the Boulders Resort and Spa, and that is February 25th through the 28th in Scottsdale, Arizona. You notice at the bottom here you can qualify with everything that you write. So whether it's annuities, single premium, traditional life, whatever it would be, everything counts towards the particular trip that we're qualifying for, which this year again is the Boulders Resort and Spa. That is for producer and guest. Love to have you qualify. There's plenty of time. We started qualification July 1st of last year. That goes till December 31st of this year. And the nice thing, John's going to talk about this later, but you can actually qualify for 2 trips at one time. So whatever carrier you're writing the business with, their trip, as well as ours. So those will count twice. Creative services can help you anywhere from basic marketing to television advertisements. So if you have not branded your company, or maybe you want to do some sort of advertising, they can help you with that, whether it be through radio, television, just basic online marketing. They can help. So keep that in mind. That's one of the benefits that many of our agents take advantage of. And here's another thing that I think is real important. So obviously with the Department of Labor, there is a whole lot going on here as far as who do you want to work with as far as your broker dealer, etc. Now this kind of looks like a disclaimer here, a lot of information, but we've created a wealth management. So it's IAMS Wealth Management. So if you've got your series license and you want to keep it simple, you can put all of your business under one roof, and that would be through the IAMS Wealth Management. And real quick here, I just put a quick poll out here. If you're interested in knowing more about IAMS Wealth Management, if you want to find a place where you can write your securities business and write your life business and all that, we can certainly help you with that. And so if you're interested in knowing more, if you want to just mark yes, I'll have Charles Jr. in our office give you a call. Otherwise, if you maybe want to give it some thought, call when it's convenient for you. The number for IAMS Wealth Management is 888-255-7670. And I can tell you that we've looked at other avenues, what other firms are doing, and I can tell you that from a commission standpoint, we are very competitive. In fact, it looks to me like we're actually sitting a lot better than what a lot of these other houses are paying out right now. So it's certainly worth, I think, having a conversation. And if you want Charles to give you a call, just mark yes real quick here, and we'll move along. But obviously, the Department of Labor, this whole thing has and will change our industry forever. And so I think it's important that you look at different options. And this is a good one for you. I'd recommend you certainly give us an opportunity to visit with you about that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Looks like only 23% of you voted in. So if you're not offering securities and things like that to your existing clients, it may not necessarily be such a big deal to you. But if you are, IAMS Wealth Management can help you. All right, let's go ahead and move on here, closing out. Moving on. Okay, John, one thing I want to say real quick that I hadn't mentioned, we didn't have a slide on here, but we do what's called marketing reimbursement. So every time you write a piece of business with us, what we do is we put money into a reimbursement account for you. And so let's just say, for example, that this summer you wanted to have a customer appreciation, kind of a summer picnic, and you spend $1,000 on that. And you send us a receipt, what we'll do is we will reimburse you up to 50% of that cost. So now instead of spending $1,000, you're spending $500. So just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. If you're not taking advantage of it, if you're not getting a benefit like that today, we'd certainly encourage you to give us a call here, ask anyone in marketing about the market reimbursement program, and we'll make sure that we obviously get you set up and let you know where you're at as far as your points are concerned once you start writing business with us. So, okay, John, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Thank you again, John, for taking time out of your day to help us with this webinar this morning.
Well, thank you, Mark, and good morning, everybody. It's nice. It's a Friday, so wrapping things up. What I'd like to do is just start out by telling you today we're going to talk about the National Guardian Life Funeral Trust and how we fund it here at Inting Financial Services. First of all, I'm going to let everybody know I am a representative in the field. I've been doing this since 1987, so I'm not sitting up in a home office telling you how great things are. I'm actually out here putting them into play for our clients. So any questions you have for me at the end, I'd certainly be happy to answer them for you. But so we can move through here quickly today for everybody's benefit, just hold your questions till the end and type them in there to Mark, and he'll make sure that we get them answered for you today. So first of all, what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about the opportunity that exists with the funeral trust. We'll talk about the trust themselves. We'll talk about the product that we use to fund the trust. I'll give you a couple presentation ideas and tools that we use effectively in our business, and then we'll talk about the company itself, National Guardian Life, which is a very good company that we're really proud to be associated with. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the opportunity. This product was brought to me about 13 years ago by a friend of mine, and that friend told me that, anytime you're doing planning for people, that, any significant event in your life you got to plan for. As we all know, we're in that business. So we got to consider our options. We got to look at what plan is most effective, and then we got to save or find out where we get the dollars to implement that plan. And your clients are no different, working with the same clientele that you are. So, Mark, you can go move forward. But one thing I do know for sure is that funeral and final expenses aren't any different than any other plan that you're putting in place for a client. As a matter of fact, they're probably one of the most important plans, because we all know for sure that we're going to pass away one day, and so are our clients. And someone's going to need to determine the services and pay the bill for that funeral. And the question becomes who's going to do it and when. So there's a couple options there. It can either be the deceased person prior to their death, in other words, getting their affairs in order, knowing they have a plan in place and that plan can be implemented with ease for their family, or it could end up like a situation such as myself and left to the survivors afterwards. Just a quick little story about me. When my parents divorced, I was 2 years old. My dad and I weren't really super close. I had a relationship with him, but we didn't talk about things like his funeral and what he would like to have done. But what happened is when he passed away on January 21st of 2011, I'm the youngest of five, but I've always been in business, so my brothers and sisters looked to me to handle things. So I found myself sitting in a funeral director's office, and in that funeral director's office, I was getting asked questions like, what was your dad's mother's maiden name? What was his highest rank in the military? What was his favorite flower, his favorite hymn? And these were all questions that I didn't have any answers to, and he hadn't done any pre-planning. And it quickly dawned on me that what we do for our clients has great value. And I believed it before, but after personally going through it, I thought, wow, what we do really benefits a family. And I wish my dad would have had that in place. It would have made it a lot easier on us. But that being said, there's a couple ways to get your affairs in order. And the first one is to plan and pay for it at the funeral home, and that's called pre-need. You can go down to the funeral home, you can pick out your casket and your arrangements, and you can go ahead and pay the funeral home up front, or you can pay for the anticipated expenses using final expense plans. And that's what we're going to concentrate on today, because that's what you're able to do for your clients. And I'll show you how taking that and combining it with the funeral trust or the estate planning trust can have a really big impact for your client's family. And we'll ask our clients how much they think a traditional funeral costs, and we'll get answers all over the board. But the reality is they're upwards of $15,000. I've had a couple clients who have passed away here in the last month. Fortunately, they both did have the funeral trust plan, and their funerals were somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000. So, the cost is out there, and the question becomes, how do you pay for it? And if something happened to you yesterday, how would your funeral be paid for today? And that's a good question to ask your clients or your prospects to get them to open up to this concept. So what's the opportunity for you? In a national survey, 72% thought it was a good idea to pre-plan, but 64% had not taken any steps to do so. I can assure you your clients are no different. Again, I'm working in the senior market. That's been our focus since 1993, and we're writing these plans on clients similar to the ones that you're helping out in your practice. So how big is the market? You probably know this stat already, but I still think it's a great number to look at if you're in this business for the long term. Over the next 20 years, 80 million people are going to file for Social Security benefits. So you can see there by 2025, 3.5 million age 70 plus are going to be turning age 70 plus, and by 2025 there'll be almost twice as many seniors as there are today. So if you're in the senior marketplace and that's the core business that you're focusing on, you've got some really great opportunities coming up in the future, and to be prepared for them, that's where the real opportunity is going to lie. So what we talk to our clients about is we have them consider this, that 69% of all Americans older than 65 are going to need nursing care. This is a crisis in our country right now. If you look at the average cost of care, it's not cheap. Even someone who has a modest savings, middle income America saver, it doesn't take long to go through, $78,000, $80,000 a year over a 3-year period, and that cost is only increasing. And what many people are starting to realize is that, hey, if I get sick and I don't have any type of protection, I'm going to need to try to qualify for Medicaid, because basically they're going to make me spend my assets, and then I'm going to have to pay for this on my own. And where this trust will come into play is the trust will actually help you preserve these assets for your client. And when you start that conversation with the client, believe me, their ears will perk up, because they're all about protecting everything that they've worked for. So how does all this fit together? Basically what we do is we take the financial protection of life insurance, and we're going to combine it with an irrevocable funeral trust that's offered through National Guardian Life. Again, I'm going to point out this trust is free, but it'll allow your client to plan ahead by setting aside the funds today that they'll need for their final expenses, getting those funds protected from a nursing home spend down situation, and also help prevent those monies from being counted during the Medicaid consideration process. So again, when you're talking to clients about protecting their assets, which is what most of us do anyway, especially if we're in the annuity business, but when you start talking to them about protecting it from a nursing home, they know stories. They've been involved with people who have lost their assets to a nursing home, so it really gets them thinking in the right direction for you. So now we'll talk about the trust themselves. National Guardian Life offers an irrevocable funeral trust, and what it allows your clients to do is get protection from creditors with their money. The benefits that are paid out of the trust at death are income tax free. The funds are available immediately. I'm going to touch on that a second. I just had a father of a very good client of mine pass away about 3 weeks ago now. We had a funeral trust on the father. When he passed away, the clients called me. I asked them what funeral home they were doing business with. I called that funeral home, got their fax number, called National Guardian Life, gave them the policy number and the fax number of the funeral home. I was out of the transaction at that point, and the funds were at the funeral home within 48 hours. The key for clients is trust or free. There's not a charge through National Guardian Life to put your assets into this trust that they've created, and everyone's going to qualify for the trust assignment. Death proceeds are going to be, again, paid to the funeral for their expenses, and they'll avoid probate costs and delays, so nothing goes through the probate process. And another key is the funds are totally portable. A real good example of that is you may have younger clients that live, I'm in Ohio, so you always hear me using Ohio as a reference point, but I have clients who have just retired that are 60 years old. They're already telling me that, hey, we're probably going to move to Florida where our kids are. Well, if they prepay for a funeral at a funeral home here in Columbus, Ohio, and then they move to Florida, those funds with the funeral home aren't portable. They've already been prepaid here. With the funeral trust, they can go to any funeral in any state, and they're going to accept these funds. So again, you're not tied down to one place. These funds are portable, and if you do live in Ohio and you do have a favorite funeral home and you have no intention of moving, that's okay too, because you can still use those funds at that funeral home if nothing changes. So a lot of agents will ask us how the trust compares to traditional savings instruments. When you look at the next page here, I'll give you a second to take a look at that, and you can see that the funeral trust is going to meet all the criteria that we're looking for as a planner. Protected from probate, lawsuits, creditors, income taxes, from Medicaid spend down, and the benefits are paid directly to the funeral home. So no middlemen involved there. So how the trust works is this. What we're doing is we're taking an existing asset and we're buying a life insurance policy. And the life insurance policy is going to be assigned to the irrevocable funeral trust, where it's going to earn interest until there's a death in the family of that insured person. So the death benefit's going to grow tax-free. It's going to sit in the irrevocable funeral trust, and like my client that I just explained to you, when he passed away, the funds were paid to the funeral provider within 48 hours, and any excess funds are paid to the estate. And the reason for that is when you use a funeral trust and you put that money in there into the irrevocable funeral trust, you're giving up all incidents of ownership. So when we sell this to a client, we tell them, hey, it's irrevocable. Don't call us to try to take money out of it. You can't borrow against it. You can't cash it in. It's going to pay out at death. But the advantage to that is protecting the money from being lost to a nursing home. And then if, let's say, you bought a $15,000 contract and your funeral arrangements were only $14,000, that extra $1,000 has to be paid to the estate, because that's what separates it from you and ownership and keeps it from being assigned to a nursing home in the event that you would get ill. So we'll talk a little bit more about how we use the trust in certain situations to make sure we don't have any funds paid to the estate. So there's two different types of trust. There's the funeral expense trust. You're going to, again, I'm going to reference Ohio. In Ohio, we can put up to $15,000 of money into a funeral expense trust. What it's going to do, it's going to exclude that money immediately from any type of a nursing home situation. This can be written on somebody that's already in a nursing home, that maybe they're spending their money down right now for care and they need to protect some of it. You could walk right in and write a $15,000 contract on the spouse that's in there and the spouse that's not in there and protect $30,000 that they're spending down to the nursing home. And then again, the trust is going to pay those funeral costs with any excess going to the estate of the insured. Now, with the estate planning trust, you can put up to $100,000 in that. A quick point here, the maximum is $100,000 between the two trusts. So if you had sold somebody a $15,000 funeral trust and they were interested in doing the estate planning trust, you could put $85,000 in there, but there can't be any more than $100,000 between the two. But what the estate planning trust is going to do for you is it's going to give you the ability to exclude assets in order to qualify for Medicaid after a 5-year look-back period. So again, once the funds are in there for 5 years, they're earning interest, they're totally excludable from a 5-year look-back. And if you only funded the estate planning trust, let's say you put $100,000 in there, and you passed away, the first funds that come out of there are going to pay for your funeral expenses, but any excess funds are going to be returned to a designated beneficiary that you choose, and that can be your kids or a family member, or it can be a charity. So I get the next question, which is, when do I use which trust? And to really simplify it for you is, we look at it this way. If you're going to use the funeral expense trust, maybe you're in crisis planning. You've got the client who's in the nursing home. They're spending through assets and they just want to protect money immediately. You can certainly use it for that. Maybe you're dealing with a client who's at home getting care, but it is possible within 5 years they're going to go into a nursing home. You could certainly fund it into this and protect that money. Or sometimes we have clients that we meet through our seminars that just tell us, look, I probably won't go in 5 years. I'm not in crisis, but I just want to put the money away to know that it's there and it's protected for when I pass away. So that can be used for that. Now, the estate planning trust, this is great for clients who right now they're healthy. I always like to use the example of teachers that I did this on. A couple that lives here in Ohio. They have a son and a daughter. They said, John, we're in perfect health. We have a lot of assets. We're never going to buy long-term care insurance, but in the event that we would both get sick and have to spend our money, we want to make sure that at least a couple $100,000 of our money is protected. So what we did is we put a $100,000 plan on each one of them. So we protected $200,000. It's going to sit in there, and once it's in there for 5 years, it's 100% protected from the nursing home. So what they're telling us is they just want to easily transfer a limited amount of wealth to their children, and this program works well for that. Maybe you're involved in a church and you have people who are bequeathing stuff to the church. Well, they can have that money sitting places with all intentions of it going to the charity, but if they get sick and go in a nursing home and get wiped out from a nursing home stay, there's no guarantee that money's going to the charity. If they carve out a portion of that money today and put it into the estate planning trust, we can guarantee them after 5 years, no matter what happens, that money will move on to their charity. And that's the real opportunity, because that's where you can pick up some pretty big cases. The product that we use to fund the trust itself is called the NGL Asset Guard program. And it's basically, it's a life insurance policy. So it's a fixed rate product that we're going to use to fund the trust. There are going to be individual state limits on how much you can put into a funeral trust. So when you look at the next page, we're going to show some different states. Excuse me, and you'll see your state on there. I see we have a lot of people on here, so there's probably people from a lot of different states. I always encourage you, once you're licensed, to reach out to National Guardian Life to get your updated state number. But you can see there in Ohio, we can put 1,500,000. We can put 15,000 into the funeral trust. So that's what we do when we max fund a trust. Again, I would always encourage you to reach out to them to make sure you have your most updated numbers for your state. Mark, you can go ahead and skip through the next slide. Go ahead and skip through that. So this is what the irrevocable funeral trust will pay for. You can go back one, Mark. Thank you. This will show you what it'll pay for. So it'll cover everything. Even down to the transfer of the deceased. If they passed away somewhere else and they were on vacation and you had to get them back here, it would pay for that. So everything that you're going to need at a death of a loved one, this is going to step in and provide the funds to pay for that. So I'm going to talk to you today about the single pay. You can do a multi-pay in this program. It's great for maybe somebody who takes a minimum distribution and doesn't use it. They just stick their money back in their savings account. But today we're going to focus on the single pay. That's what we do 99% of in our practice. You can write a minimum face amount of $500 all the way up to the $100,000. You can give them a growth rate up to 2.25%, and there's only one health question on the application. Whether they answer the health question favorably or they don't, they're still going to qualify for the program. You can write it from ages 0 to 99. So you may have grandparents out there. It's a great play for grandparents who you can have the conversation with them and say, hey, you know what? Why don't you put some money into one of these plans for your grandchild and then just leave it alone, and then when they're older, they'll never have to worry about this. They'll know that their final expenses are already funded and taken care of. On the health question, again, I told you there's only one, so they're either going to get issued standard or they're going to get issued guaranteed. So again, you're not wasting your time when you're sitting with a client doing an application. Either way, they're going to get the product. All single pay programs are going to have an immediate full death benefit. So if you wrote them today and 6 months from now they passed away, there's no waiting period. That full death benefit is going to be paid out to the funeral home. Go ahead and move on there, Mark. You can go ahead and move past that. So here's the one thing I love. It couldn't be easier to do. I've been writing annuities since 1993, and when I wrote my first annuity, it was 3 pieces of paper, and one of those pieces of paper was the receipt that I left behind to the client. And if any of you are in the annuity business today, you know that now we've got 30 pages that we have to complete in order to implement an annuity. With this one, you have 2 pieces of paper and your state replacement form, and you're done. That's the application. It's about a 15-minute process with the client. So this is what the top of the app looks like. You're going to fill out the basic information on them. Then at the bottom, you're going to have where the applicant's going to sign, obviously, to authorize the transaction. You go ahead and move on, Mark. And then you can move on to the next one. So what happens with this policy is 45 days after they issue the life insurance policy, they're going to take this and they're going to stick it into the irrevocable funeral trust. So if you look at the next page here, this is the assignment. So let's hold on right there for a second. This is what is telling the client that effective, go back there one for me, Mark. Effective 45 days after the policy has been issued and the company has received this form with the application, they're going to put the policy into the irrevocable funeral trust. But on the next slide, you're going to see if you're in a crisis situation, at the bottom of the application, or I'm sorry, at the disclosure there, it's going to give you the right to give up that 45-day waiting period and assign the policy immediately. This could become real important if you have someone that's right in the middle of trying to qualify for Medicaid and they're trying to protect as much money as they can. This will allow them to sign it, get the policy issued, and get it into the trust immediately to protect it from a nursing home spend down. So a real nice tool if you're in the crisis process. So the health, when you're presenting it to clients, again, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to the clients about a couple different things. I would encourage you, if you get licensed with National Guardian Life, to start talking to your current clients during an annual review. And the reason I say that is this. You know your current clients like you, they trust you, and they'll listen to new ideas. So it's a more comfortable for you than anything because you know you're with someone that you're at ease with. You can talk to them about it, you can show them the benefits, and then you can help them implement it. So what you're going to do during that annual review is you're going to present the funeral trust funding. You're going to talk to them. You're going to stress the benefits of planning ahead. You're going to tell them it can be used with any funeral home. We kind of laugh about this here in our business because we'll tell clients that, hey, I know you probably intend on prepaying your funeral, but what morning did you wake up and look at your spouse and say, hey, honey, let's run down to the nursing or to the funeral home and pick out our casket? You know, it's just not something you normally do. But with this, we're talking about putting the money aside and having it there so that when you're ready to go do your pre-planning, you can go down to that funeral home. And then one of the big things is 1035 exchanging existing life insurance. We do a lot of business in this because your clients don't realize, or the majority of them don't, that when they die with one of those old whole life paid up policies, that they don't get the cash value and the death benefit at death. What they get is the bigger number of the two. So as an example, if we're working with a client and we do a review and we see a policy that has $10,000 in cash value and then it has $11,000 of death benefit, we're going to explain to them that, hey, if you get sick and go in a nursing home, that $10,000 in that policy is going to be gone. They're going to make you spend that. Doesn't it make more sense for us to take that money and transfer it into the insurance product and then put it into the funeral trust so that you know it's protected forever and it's going to be there to pay for what you intended to pay for, which was your funeral? And then again, as we all know in this business, we only get paid to close the sale. So what we're going to do is we're going to stress to that client that we're going to give them the peace of mind of knowing that they've planned ahead and the funds are protected. Now, one thing I'm going to say about this is, and we'll talk about it further, with this product, National Guardian Life has a great leave behind piece. It's basically it's a letter to my loved ones, and what it allows you to do is leave it with the client when you write the application and ask them to complete it, and all those questions that I couldn't answer for my father at the funeral home, what's your mother's maiden name, your highest rank in service, your favorite flower, your favorite hymn, how do you want to be buried, they will fill that out and complete it. And what we tell them is, once we've got your policy issued, if you'll put it with this document, if I had never met you before, I could take this to a funeral home and complete your funeral arrangements for you because you've laid out what you want to happen and you have the funds with it to take care of everything. It's a very powerful piece to leave with them, to have them complete while you're getting their policy issued. So where do we find the money? Or, you know, the money's out there. When you ask them the question, hey, have you prepaid your funeral, and they tell you no, the next question is, if you would have passed away yesterday, how would that funeral be paid for today? They're going to tell you, well, you know, John, I've got a CD over at the bank that my kids know it's got $15,000 in it, and it's earmarked to take care of my final expenses. Well, if I hear an answer like that, I'm going to point out to them that that's fine and well, but if you get sick and go to a nursing home, that asset is countable, and you're going to have to spend it. So why don't we take it, get it over here, get you a better interest rate on your money, to have it grow tax-free and be there when your family needs it the most. So you can see there's a lot of places that you can get the money to fund these funeral trust or estate planning trusts. So at National Guardian Life, one of the great things that I feel about their company is they do a very good job with their marketing pieces. Once you're licensed, you can get on their website. It's very easy to navigate, and you can order these pieces. They're there for you. You can customize them with your company information if you'd like to. But the key thing is to get them and to give them to people. They're very easy to understand. They're a trifold. I like to tell the story of some clients that are about 10 minutes from my office. I went over and met with them one day. It went through the whole process. They said, well, John, we want to think about it. And I said, okay, what I'm going to do is leave this little funeral expense trust brochure with you, and then I'm going to call you back tomorrow, because the best time to make a decision when it's fresh on your mind. And I told them I'd give them a call back to set the appointment. 9 o'clock the next morning, before I could call them, they called me and said, hey, we read the brochure. It's exactly what you said. It makes perfect sense. Let's set an appointment to get it done. So it's very easy for the client to understand, and it will help you sell these programs. National Guardian Life's been around for a long time. Obviously, anytime that you're dealing with a company, we want to know that they're going to be there when we need them most, and that's when we need them to pay a client's claim. You can see there a little bit about National Guardian Life, a very well-capitalized company, great rating, and again, they've been in business for over 100 years. The next page that we're going to look at here, this is the agent website. To me, this is one of the most valuable tools in our business that we use with National Guardian Life. You can find out anything you need on here. You can pull your apps. You can check your commissions. You can pull up marketing materials. And then they also have frequently asked questions that they have a list of them that are frequently asked and the answers to them. But more importantly, that 1-800 number on there, anything that you need or you have a question about, they are one of the most reliable sales support teams, to where if you're new to this and you're in an appointment with a client, don't feel afraid to pick that phone up and call that number. If you don't know the answer, you'll get a live person and they'll walk you through whatever you need to know. But it's pretty simple. I don't think you'll need that, but it's great to know you have the support if you need it. You can go ahead and move on there, Mark. So why sell the product? We showed you the stats. Your clients are thinking about it. It's a great income opportunity. The trusts are free, so there's no fees. There's no other professionals advising your clients. I've been doing this for 13 years. I always make it a point to ask every client that we sell this product to, has anyone ever talked to you about this before? I've never had anyone tell me yes. It's a niche product that if you can learn it and you understand it and you get good at implementing it, you will make many, many sales, and you will enjoy the benefits for yourself, but also the peace of mind that it gives your clients. You'll get a lot of referrals from it. The funds are totally portable. Again, they can be used in any funeral home. We've talked about the company. Gives you that peace of mind, and if you hate paperwork, you'll love this product because it's one of the most simple products to write and to get issued that you'll deal with. And again, if you don't do it, someone else will. Great compensation. I put this up there. Again, we try to write as many people as possible, but if you just wrote 2 couples a month and you only did $10,000 of premium on each one of them, it'd add $40,000 to your annual bottom line. So think about it this way. If you do annual reviews with your clients, and out of those annual reviews, you write a couple cases every month, that's a pretty good income to have coming into your business. And when I mentor some of the new agents personally, I'll tell them that, you know, this is a great way to cover all of your company expenses for the year. Figure out how much your company expenses are, your rent, your utilities, whatever you spend a month, and then figure out how much you need to sell of this to be able to cover that cost. And it's very easy to implement and very easy to do. We have a lot of agents doing it successfully. Some of the client or agents that we work with obviously want to know about commission. So if we look at this next page, you'll see on here, focus on the top left-hand corner. This is a client getting a 2% growth rate on the plan. If they're between the ages of 61 and 65, it's a 13.3% commission. If they're between 66 and 70, it's 11%. Usually, we write them on all ages, but we write a lot in that 60 to 70 range. So if you went out and you fully funded it for a 65-year-old and you had a couple, you're talking about over $4,000 in commissions on that case, which you know is guaranteed to get issued. So again, Mark can elaborate more on this and get you commission schedules once you're licensed. National Guardian Life does a really great job on their trips. Their producer circle this coming year is to Punta Cana Resort. You can see there, I went on their trip that they did to Marco Island, Florida. Everything they do is first class and top notch, and a lot of great people to talk with to understand how they're growing their business. So I'd encourage you to try to qualify for their trip. You won't be sorry that you did. So some of the biggest challenges that you have with this program, obviously, it's getting comfortable with the concept. When I sold my first annuity back in 1993, it was a $25,000 annuity to a guy that owned a dry cleaners in Marion, Ohio. I remember him sliding a check across the table, and I couldn't believe someone would write a $25,000 check and let alone let me walk out the door with it. But now today, this is 2017, I've been doing annuities since 93. I consider myself an expert. But again, it's only through repetition. So start talking about this to your clients and sharing the idea, and you will get comfortable with it, and you'll see an increase in your sales. Learn how to present it. It's a very simple process to do, and keep it on the top of your mind. Every client, every day, one simple question. If you don't take anything from this webinar, take this. Have you prepaid your funeral? It's a yes or no question. If they say no, then you know you can move right on into the next topic. So what we do is we have a guide for beneficiaries that we created at our agency, and we make it available to people who become licensed with National Guardian Life. This has been a real valuable tool for us, not only picking up National Guardian Life business, but once we started using this guide, in the first year that we used it, we picked up $1.5 million in annuity premium. We picked up a couple $100,000 in regular life insurance premium, and we picked up about $150,000 in National Guardian Life premium. And so what it does is it's just a guide that tells them that, hey, if something were to happen to you, we want your family to call us. And so what we do is we leave this guide behind with them. You move on to the next one, Mark. And we leave it behind with us, and ours says a guide for helping my beneficiaries. For help settling my estate, please call my advisor at Inting Financial Services. But the importance of this is when someone passes away in a home, you want them calling your office, not the people at the bank, not the broker, because there's a lot of business opportunity to help somebody settle their estate. And if they call you first, you're going to have that opportunity. But more importantly, when you tell them that you want to come out and do a review with them and give them a guide for their beneficiaries, every single client that we've done this for has told us, oh my gosh, this is a great tool. I'm going to make sure that my kids know where this is at, because it will help walk them through the estate settling process. More importantly, we want them to call us because we know there's additional business in there to work with either the spouse or the kids. So we make this available to you. It's been very successful for us. And then on the next page, what you're going to see is the reason we did so much additional business is we tell them when we go in, this is going to be for your kids. But in order for your kids to have an updated, up-to-date financial organizer for you, we're going to go through and complete all this with you today and put it in the back of this guide. So this is what we do, and we go through and ask them all these questions, and then we'll get to the next page, and you'll see that we're going to start asking them financial information down there at the bottom. So we're finding out about their kids, we're getting their kids' names and addresses, we're going to find out where all their money is. Why that's important is you can have some of the best clients. You can do an organizer when you're bringing them on as a new client, and it's crazy. People don't always tell you everything they have, but you will find out with this form, and then you're going to ask them that question 8, have you prepaid your funeral? And if they say no, you don't want to stop there and dive into it, but you certainly want to come back and show them the benefits of prepaying that funeral or using that estate planning trust. You're just going to see the last pages of it there, and then that is it, Mark.
Excellent. Okay, so what I'm going to do here real quick is I'm going to put up one last poll here. This is pretty simple, and this is important. If you want to get contracted with National Guardian Life, as John mentioned, you'll have access to this organizer. And then secondly, what we'll do is we are going to have another webinar. It's within, I think it's 2 weeks from Monday. We're going to have a sales presentation that John will have, and John's going to cover what he does as far as selling it. And so you certainly want to get contracted, because that will be for contracted agents only for this upcoming one here in a couple of weeks. And, I'll tell you something real quick. When we've had agents attend that sales webinar, it's amazing the amount of business that they generate, that we see coming in from that. There's one agent, in fact, I left him a message this morning thanking him for his business because he continues to produce. And I think he's been with us now for 6 months, and he's written 18 cases in that 6-month time frame. So he obviously got the message, John, where you talked about writing two clients a month. He's doing it, and
Yes.
he's rolling in the cash. So, and that's in addition to everything else that he's doing. So it's pretty good stuff. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go through the questions with you real quick. I'll leave that poll up so y'all have a chance to run through those. So Joe asks, are funds placed in a pre-need trust excluded from the Medicaid spend down?
So what they do is you're buying a life insurance policy, and then it is going into an irrevocable funeral trust, is what it's called, and that is the National Guardian Life. It's one trust. All the policies get assigned to that trust that are issued. But yes, it does protect it against the Medicaid spend down.
Okay. And Harry says or asks, many clients are qualified plan rich and cash poor. Must it be a lump sum, or can it be done with a normal monthly charge?
You can do it. You'll see there as you get licensed that they do have some different options for you to not do it as a lump sum. So the answer to that question would be yes, you can set it up on a 3-pay, 5-pay, 7-pay for those clients who can't come up with the cash immediately.
And then John asks, is the NGL estate planning trust also no fee?
That is correct. It is no fee.
Okay. So Harry asks a good question. What if they have a prepaid funeral already?
Well, if they have a prepaid funeral already, I shift over and start asking them about, if you don't have any nursing home protection, do you have any money that you would like to know is protected from a nursing home? And then we'll talk to them about the estate planning trust. Even though that estate planning trust has basically a 5-year look-back window in it, what I'm finding out, I just turned 53 last week, 5 years goes quick. So what we're talking to them about is, how much do you want protected, understanding that this is money that you're not going to need access to during your lifetime, and then let's get it into this estate planning trust to get it protected.
Okay, and then Wise asks, how do you know if they have the old policy that they're only going to get paid one, not both benefits, the cash and the death benefit?
I love that question. My answer to that is this. When I started this business back in '93, and I would go in and do these reviews with clients, they would bring out these old policies, and you could smell the must on them. They'd been sitting in a lockbox, and I would just push them aside. I was interested in the other money. But what I found out was, with those old policies, the majority of them, they do build that cash value in there. And so what we'll do is we'll take the policy out. We'll tell the client we're going to call the company together. We'll put them on speakerphone, and we'll call the company and we'll say, hey, what's our cash value and what is our death benefit? And if those two numbers are getting close to each other, and it doesn't have to be within 1,000. I've had clients who have had cash value of 10,000 and death benefit of 13,000, and they're not willing to risk their 10,000 in cash for an extra 3,000 of death benefit. So the best way to get that information, pull those old policies out, get your phone out, put them on speakerphone, and get the company on the line with them.
Yeah, that's a big deal, because as you mentioned already, and I certainly like to reiterate this, because this is one thing I always tell agents when they call in, is that if they go through spend down, they're only allowed to keep $1,500 of cash in the policy. Well, you know what happens when they're forced to spend that down? There's not going to be much of anything left. They're going to take a reduced paid up policy, which they'd have been better off putting it into the trust product. So
that's exactly right. It's about protecting those assets.
Okay, Harry asks, what if they have What if they have used the estate trust and then need the money to live on?
It's irrevocable, Harry. And again, I explain that to every client. If you're putting money in these plans, you don't call me for a loan, don't call me to surrender it. This should be money that you've went through everything with the client and come to the understanding it's money that they're not going to need during their lifetime. And that's the money you want to put into that trust. And and I guess I should say this too, because I use this phrase with my clients. I'll say, well, hey, you have no debt, you have great income, and you have this savings. What's the only thing that could wreck your plan? And they'll say to me, well, healthcare, going into a nursing home. Well, if that's the case and you went into a nursing home, you're telling me you'd be spending all this other money you've got saved at the nursing home. And they'll say yes, and I'll say, well, let's carve out some of it and get it protected and put it into that estate planning trust, again, understanding that it's irrevocable.
Yep. And then Richard asked, can we provide them the slides? I would probably say, I mean, this really is for agent use. We do have one, and this kind of addresses Wise's question. Do we have a presentation for agents? Yes, we do. And
Yes.
I can make that available to you after the webinar this morning. Okay, so Bruce asks, if we contract with NGL, will we have access to their full line of products, including whole life products?
So any product they have available in your state, you will have access to through the National Guardian Life contract. They do have, I know they're introducing, not to get off topic, but they're introducing a long-term care product, and I think that's through a different channel. And they actually have, they're taking no new contracts for their traditional whole life final expense product.
Cecil's got a pretty long one here, a good long question. So by buying a $10,000 policy that goes into the trust, and the person has an additional $300,000 in two annuities and a money market with a bank, how is the annuity and money market protected to prevent spending it to a nursing home?
It's not. Anything that's in an annuity or a money market, if your client gets sick and goes into a nursing home, it's going to be subject to spend down. Whatever you put into the estate planning trust or the funeral trust, again, funeral trust immediately protected. Estate planning trust will be protected after 60 months.
Okay, let's see here.
And a lot of times I'll use the phrase and I'll talk about this in the training, but I'll use the phrase 60 months because for a lot of people, 60 months sounds shorter than 5 years.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So let's see, here he asks, do different states have different maximum amounts for the estate planning trust?
So no, those it's all going to be that $100,000 limit in the estate planning trust.
Okay, so John must have hopped in a little late, but he asked if it's guarantee issue, and yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay. John, the question box looks like it's empty.
Well, Mark, let me say one thing here because we didn't talk about this, but I think it's important for agents who are becoming contracted. You know, in this business, it's all about getting paid for your efforts. And with National Guardian Life, if I were to write an application today and we use 2-day U.S. mail, and I was to send it into them, they would get it on Monday, and by Wednesday at the latest, my commissions would be in my account. So their submission to commission is very, very effective.
And one thing I want to do real quick here is I notice obviously we don't have our toll-free number on here. And if you have any questions, I have been doing this webinar with John for quite some time. I can certainly address any questions that you would have. So you can call Insurance Agency Marketing Services at 800-255-5055. You can ask for me. Again, this is Mark Raymakers. I'm not Josh, although it looks like I am because of the way the webinar is set up. Or you can ask for anyone in the life marketing department. So, John, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day. I know that you forego some appointments to help us this morning, so thank you for that.
No worries. Thank you for having me, and thank you everybody for being on here. I know you're running a business like I am, and it's precious time, but thank you again. And if you end up coming out to one of the IAMS academies, I will be out there speaking. Pull me aside if you'd like to have a conversation about anything that's come up. I'd be happy to help you out.
Yes, thank you for that. And the other thing too is what I will do is I will email those of you that have requested appointment with National Guardian Life. I'll email that out to you here today. It's very simple. All you have to do is just complete that email or fax it back. We'll get you set up. And then, of course, once we do that, we'll get you the invitation for the sales training webinar that will be coming up here in a couple of weeks. All right, so thank you all for taking time to join us here this morning. We look forward to working with you. Have a great weekend, and again, we'll be in touch with you shortly.